Our African culture is so amazing. We don't have things on our own. For example, is if you cook food, you don't eat food in your house hiding. You cook food and you put it outside, you'll be eating outside. And when people are passing, even if you don't know them, you invite them to come share your meal. So it's so amazing in a way that they are no strangers. Someone can come from a far village, the person that you don't even know, you've never met before, but you'll be happy to share that meal with that person. Yes.
Southern Africa is home to many rich and unique cultures, both black and white. The black population is made up of two main tribes, the Bantu and the Khoisan. Southern Africa is primarily inhabited by the Bantu people, who started in the north of the continent and gradually spread to the south, outcompeting and intermarrying with the former inhabitants until they became the dominant group. The number of Bantu tribes is estimated to range from 300 to 600. Other estimates indicate that there are up to 633 forms of Bantu language spoken. The other main group, the Khoisan people, did maintain some autonomy from the Bantu and were gradually pushed toward the Kalahari Desert. The Khoisan were the originators of the click consonants that you hear in some Southern African languages spoken today. Southern Africa's two largest religious groups are Christian and ethno-religionist. Ethno-religionist groups are religions that are closely tied to ethnic groups. Just as in other parts of the world, the Christian population of Southern Africa is diverse and unique. One example is the Apostolic Church of Zimbabwe. This Christian sect was founded by a man who believed himself to be the John the Baptist of Africa. Its followers number 1.2 million members, and it is growing and spreading to other areas of the region. The Apostolics are of particular concern to human rights groups because of their practice of child brides and cane beatings. Child brides often become pregnant at ages when their bodies aren't developed enough to carry a baby, and as a result, maternal mortality is increasing in areas where the religion is prominent. There is a wide range of education and literary capabilities in Southern Africa. This is well demonstrated in literacy rates, the lowest at 58.8%, with the highest at 94.3%.
About politics, in Congo we had a president who was on power for 32 years. His name was Mobutu Sese Seko. So after 32 years, he was replaced by Laurent Desire Kabila, and unfortunately he was killed. And then his son took over the power. He's the president until today. Unfortunately, things are not good in Congo right now. They are killing people. Like last week, many people were killed in Congo because they don't want the president and they want him to go.
Mamisa shared examples of political upheavals in the Congo and Zimbabwe. Since the period of colonialism, countries in Southern Africa have tried to establish democracies. Many countries have structured their governments as republics, with parliaments, presidents, and constitutions. Unfortunately, most of these countries have been overrun by dictators that commit horrific violations of human rights, including torturing and killing political opponents. Political upheavals and civil war cause the countries in Southern Africa to regularly swap citizens. People run away from the controlling political party or tribe because they know as soon as they cross the border, they're no longer a target. As discussed in class, the behavior of the government has a profound effect on healthcare. One example is the autocratic government of Zimbabwe. This government has had so much power that no one can hold it accountable to provide even basic services, like getting food to the government-owned hospital. The Shingini Hospital in Zimbabwe had to close its doors because it simply had run out of food.
In Congo, banks are there, but they are not really playing their roles. So it's even dangerous to keep money in the bank because you can put the money today with a value of 10,000 US, and after a month, your money can have the value of 1,000. So it's not a guarantee to keep the money at the bank. Talking about Zimbabwe, is even worse, because in Zimbabwe right now they don't have their own currency. They're using US dollars, and that makes things worse, because first things, we buy things, we are not producing things locally, we take things from other countries like South Africa. So when those things, in South Africa we buy things in rand. So when we buy things in rand and bring them in Zimbabwe, selling them, it's also another problem, because you need to match and get the benefits. So it's not that easy to get profit out of the good that you're going to buy in South Africa. And now that doesn't help people to do business. And it's because people are not doing good business, things are very expensive, and it's very difficult to get the product of the product that we need, like soap, sugar, oil, so the economy is not stable, and the money can change from dollar. We can have $100 today, and maybe you with the $100 you can buy something, then after 3 days that money cannot buy the same thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's the economy is not stable, and like recently with
Southern Africa is a region rich with natural resources such as silver, diamond, platinum, and uranium. This gives Southern Africa the potential for wealth. However, poor governance and poor management of these resources has placed many nations in the region in what Paul Collier, a leading world economist, calls the bottom billion, or in extreme poverty. Collier addresses the 4 economic traps: the conflict trap, the natural resource trap, the trap of being landlocked with bad neighbors, and the trap of bad governance in small countries. Many Southern African nations suffer with many, if not all, of these traps. These are problems that other countries don't often deal with, and are therefore ascribed to be an African problem. Southern African economic policies tend to focus inward, with little or no benefits from spillover policies to the bordering nations. The economies are linked, but do not interact. Collier suggests that the way certain African borders were drawn may attribute to the economic burdens experienced by the region. For example, in one country, the natural resource of logs could not be shipped along the river because the river ran through the Civil War territory of another nation and wasn't safe. Therefore, they were forced to use the road, which was destroyed by the weight of the logs being transported. However, development may help to combat poor economic policies, especially in areas of unemployment and infrastructure. Southern Africa consists of over 14 countries with a spread of economic standing. A BBC article from 2007 stated that Zimbabwe has just about the worst performing economy in the world. The statistics from the World Factbook show that the unemployment rate in Zimbabwe reached 95% in 2009, giving it a global ranking of 175th. However, South Africa is doing relatively well in comparison. As of 2013, it was reported as only having an unemployment rate of 24.9%, and its National Development Plan has created goals to eradicate poverty by 2030. South Africa's National Development Plan is multifaceted and includes increasing income, employment, equality, and effective public transportation. It is likely that other Southern African nations will follow their lead.
Yeah, talking about health, I can say like in Congo, the most challenging problem is people are not, the environment is not clean. That's why you see in Congo we have the kind of disease like Ebola, we have the kind of disease like the diarrhea, malaria, because the places are not really clean. Yeah, that's why especially children are most affected and they're dying. If you see the rate, they're dying, more children are dying with malaria, diarrhea, than other diseases. Now talking about Zimbabwe, the most challenging problem is HIV. In recent years, Botswana was the country with the highest rates of HIV/AIDS, and South Africa as well. Zimbabwe also, I don't know, is second or third. Why? Because of the economy is not stable, so prostitution is the only way women can survive. So now they lead themselves into prostitution, and that's now pushed them to get AIDS, and they are dying. Yeah. So that's the most problem in Africa.
In 2016, the top 3 killers in Africa were HIV/AIDS at 11.7%, lower respiratory infections at 11.2%, and diarrheal diseases at 6.5%. 4,300 people die from AIDS each day, and most of these deaths are concentrated in sub-Saharan Africa. In 2015, the maternal mortality rate in southern Africa was a shocking 542 deaths per 100,000 live births. This is still over 100 deaths more than the combined rates of the other 5 regions of the world. This graph, made by the World Health Organization, shows the general burden of disease in the industrialized world. It groups causes of death into 3 categories: communicable, indicated in orange, non-communicable, brown, and injuries, red, with 17 subcategories. As shown, the top 3 killers in the USA today are heart disease, cancer, and chronic lower respiratory diseases, such as emphysema and chronic bronchitis. These are chronic diseases, also known as lifestyle diseases. This graph shows the general burden of disease in sub-Saharan Africa. Notice that unlike the industrialized world, the major burden of diseases in southern Africa is still caused by the age-old infectious diseases, tuberculosis, diarrheal diseases, and malaria. The parasitic diseases this graphic is referencing are hookworm infections, schistosomiasis, and lymphatic filariasis. These parasites cause extreme pain, disability, anemia, bladder and kidney damage, and extreme swelling, among other problems. These are caused by unsanitary water and plumbing, rampant mosquitoes and parasites, and the general dirty living conditions that come along with poverty. The media sensationalizes certain diseases and problems, but in reality, the same infectious diseases have been a problem in southern Africa for hundreds of years. For example, in 2012, more than 3 million people died from the 5 leading causes of death in sub-Saharan Africa. By comparison, Ebola claimed about 8,000 lives between the start of the outbreak in February 2014 and the end of that year.